friends, Catherine Korostoff here. Thanks for joining me today. Today we have a special topic. I want to spend some time talking about career planning. And if you haven't given yourself any time recently to really think about your career plan for the next few years, maybe you can use this as an opportunity to take a pause and really think, what do you want to accomplish in your career over the next few years? What are your personal goals and aspirations for your career in the next few years? And I'm going to be sharing some information with you that I think is really going to help you understand what some of the opportunities are that would really align with what organizations are looking for. That is, what are people hiring for in terms of market research and customer insights? Now, I do have one caveat. Today, I'm going to be talking about career coaching tips for people who are planning their market research or insights careers within a corporate insights function. That is, if you are thinking about starting or refreshing a career path where you might be working inside a consumer brand or a nonprofit or maybe a manufacturing company, but you're going to work in an internal function, then today's conversation is definitely for you. If you're somebody who's more interested in a career path that would be at a market research agency or maybe working in the market research function within a big ad agency, well, some of this will also apply, but not quite so much. So today's conversation is really for corporate researchers, corporate insights professionals. So if you are looking to advance your career over the next few years within a corporate research or insights function, one of the things you have to really be aware of is, what is senior management thinking of these functions these days? What is their vision for consumer insights and what these functions should be doing? So that as you're thinking about your career plan, you can be sure that what you're doing in terms of setting your own goals or thinking about what skills you may need to add to your tool chest, you want to make sure that those things are going to align with what the senior management of these organizations are expecting. What are they actually looking for? This is really important because there's been some huge changes in terms of how the insights function is organized within a lot of organizations. So let's take a look at a couple of proof points that might help you to think about what you might want to do in order to really get ready for the next stage of your career path. One thing to consider is, what is the name of the function? You know, in the old days, if you were in market research or customer insights, you may very well have worked in a market research team or a consumer insights department or a shopper insights department. And those were all really common names for different departments that were responsible for discovering and measuring customer attitudes and behaviors. Those were the departments that did market segmentation, product concept testing, pricing studies, ad studies, and more. But a lot of organizations have changed the names over the last few years. IBM, well, they now have a Market Development and Insights group. They've combined market development and insights. Now let's think about that for a second. That's pretty different than having a department that's called the Market Research Department, right? So the combination of market development and insights speaks to me in a way that says this is a really strategic function. It's not a research function. We're looking not only to collect research, but we want information that's going to have an impact on market development. So it's a much more strategic name for the job function. Biogen, they have a group called Global Customer and Market Insights. Again, to me, that's feeling very strategic. It's Global Customer and Market Insights. That feels like a very strategic name to me. L'Oreal, they have a group called Consumer and Market Insight and Foresight. This one is absolutely one of my favorites because Consumer and Market Insight and Foresight suggests that we're not just looking for research that tells us what we've already done or where we are today. It's about having insights that are going to fuel us in a very future-oriented way. To me, that's really exciting. It also has implications. So if I were a person looking for a job within that department, I know that when I'm applying for this job, I really want to emphasize not only my methods that allow me to capture what's already happened, but I also should mention and emphasize my understanding of methods and techniques that allow me to understand the future. For example, I love survey research, but survey research is often best for understanding a snapshot in time. I can ask people about their current attitudes. I can ask people about their past behaviors or current behaviors. But we know that survey research is somewhat limited in its ability to ask people and get accurate insights about what they plan to do in the future. So there are other techniques that we can use for that sort of thing in terms of needs discovery and sources of pain. So if we are applying to an organization or a team that's really about foresight, we want to make sure that they understand that we can do a lot more than just surveys. Here's another one I really like. Bloomingdale's has customer insights and strategy. So they're putting strategy right in the title. This is a recurring theme that I am seeing with a lot of organizations where the titles of these groups increasingly are about tying the research and insights function to actually what it's supposed to do for the organization, which is to inform strategy. Now, this is not news. Anybody who's been in market research and insights for over about 15 minutes knows that one of the things we are always asked to do is to make sure that when we are presenting research results, when we're showing the outcomes and the outputs of our work as research and insights professionals, that we're supposed to connect it to the business so that we don't just say this is what we learned, but we can say this is what we learned and this is the implications for the organization. This is how you can use it to specifically improve marketing, specifically improve product roadmaps, specifically improve sales efficacy, and so forth. All of that connection to actual business outcomes, that emphasis on strategy is really a common thing for us these days. And I love that some of these companies like Bloomingdale's are putting strategy right in the department's name. Amadeus, they have a market intelligence and customer insights group. Intelligence is a word that we are also increasingly seeing in the names of some of these departments. So why is intelligence so exciting to me? Because the word intelligence is actually coming up a lot in very senior levels in organizations. So rather than refer to, say, market research, some people are referring to market intelligence. And that suggests, and when we look at job postings that actually have intelligence, we can see evidence of this, more synthesis. Right? So if I'm doing market research and I've got a market research job title, that's one thing. But if now the job has morphed into an intelligence job or posting, they're looking for more synthesis. They're looking for somebody who can work with multiple sources of data, who can provide synthesis across multiple types of research output, multiple types of research, to take all of these different pieces of data and really synthesize them for the organization. So I like the word intelligence a lot because it really acknowledges that there's an opportunity to really synthesize many different types of data sources to meet the organization's strategic needs. So again, as you're thinking about your career plans, start looking at some of the companies you might be interested in working for and look at the name of the department that you would ideally like to be working for. Because these days it's probably not a market research or customer insights department. It may very well be, like here, I've got one from Biogen, Global Customer and Market Insights, or at Cardinal Health, Customer and Market Insights Center of Excellence. And words like insights, strategy, intelligence are very common now in the names of the departments. And this is also reflected in specific job titles. So as you think about your career planning as a corporate researcher or a corporate insights professional, if you look at some of the current job postings, what you'll see is that a lot of the jobs for which you may very well want to apply and may very well be qualified for have some slightly different job titles than job titles you may have applied to in the past. So just as the departments are no longer necessarily called market research or consumer insights, they have these new words, intelligence, strategy, etc., so do the job titles. So for example, Johnson & Johnson had a job posting recently for a senior manager, integrated analytics and market research. Digest that for a minute. Integrated analytics and market research. What does that say to you? Well, when I read the actual job posting, it was very clear that they were looking for somebody who doesn't just specialize in conventional market research. They want somebody who can be the translator, who can be the glue between what we might consider conventional market research methods and analytics sources of data. This is really exciting because this is really what's happening at an organization wide level in many companies these days. Organizations at the highest level, the C-suite, they often talk about wanting to be data-driven organizations. If you don't believe me, go onto your favorite search engine and search for the phrase data-driven organization or data-driven company, and you'll see tons of matches, and you'll see tons of articles in Forbes, Fortune, Inc., the Wall Street Journal, right? Business publications, because that's what people want. That's what the C-suite wants. They want all of these different sources of data to be integrated. So I love that J&J has put it right in the job title, Integrated Analytics and Market Research. Now, this may mean that you might need to add a couple of new skills in order to be ready to apply for this kind of job. But I earnestly believe that this type of job is on the rise. I believe that we're seeing many more of these types of jobs as opposed to jobs that are purely conventional market researchy kinds of jobs. So thinking about career planning, maybe it is time to maybe amp up a little bit in terms of your knowledge of specific types of data analysis, or knowing enough about, say, how to calculate customer lifetime value, that you can work with other colleagues who are doing that kind of work. But to be able to work with people in a team that includes both conventional research and analytics functions is clearly going to be increasingly important. Here's another one. Another job posting that I just saw recently for a company called Total Wine and More. They're looking for a VP of Consumer Insights and Analytics. Okay, so again, consumer insights and analytics. And when you read the job description, it is a combination of traditional market research functions and what we might have called analytics functions. So it specifically calls for somebody who's going to be doing predictive analytics as well as segmentation, right? They want customer-focused understanding. So they're combining it, consumer insights and analytics. Other jobs that I've seen, well, I'll give you one more example. I've got several examples, but just let me give you one more example. Here's one that I think is really, really interesting. So Biogen has an opening for senior manager of business insights and analytics. And again, when you read through the description, it specifies that this is going to be somebody who's going to be conducting primary and secondary research, competitive intelligence, customer feedback. But they also specify that this is somebody who needs to be able to work on analysis, work on synthesis. So it's not just about doing one study using one methodology. It's about being able to tackle problems in a way that's very data agnostic, very data fluent, being able to bring in multiple types of data. So hopefully some of these job posting examples and looking at what the new names of the departments are shows that if you are thinking about a career in corporate research or insights, you need to be thinking about applying for jobs in a world where there is more synthesis, there's more integration between what we might consider traditional market research methods and sources of data and newer sources of data and methods. In fact, when I look across postings these days, I am stunned by the wide variety of skills that these postings are looking for. I just recently did an analysis on hundreds of job postings related to market research and insights, and these are some of the specific skills that are frequently occurring. Business strategy, CX, community or panel management, dashboards, or more specifically Tableau. Emerging methodologies, that's right, there's a lot of job postings that are specifically looking for people who understand emerging methodologies. Excel, believe it or not, a lot of job postings specify they want you to know Excel, they want you to know how to use pivot tables, being able to have excellent presentation skills, project management skills. This is really important. And here's one that I really see a lot that I think is so exciting. There's a lot of job postings where they are specifically looking for people who can drive collaboration, who can lead cross-functional teams, because the idea is that at any moment in time, the organization may have a need for understanding something about its customers or its target market that will require a temporary cross-functional team. And there's an opportunity for you to lead that team. But that means that you need to be comfortable and have the skills to be able to delegate and coordinate people with a lot of different types of data specialties. You might need to manage a collaborative cross-functional team that includes people who understand conventional market research methods, but may also be specialists in some of the new online qualitative techniques or web analytics data or even Google Analytics data or other types of customer database mining results to be able to bring in all of those sources of data to achieve whatever that specific goal is. So rather than have all of these things be separate, sometimes they want somebody who can come in and lead that cross-functional team to be able to accomplish a specific requirement for understanding customers or markets. The bottom line is if you are planning a career or you're thinking about refreshing how you think about your career path in market research and customer insights, you have a lot of different options these days. However, what I would encourage you as a next step is to think really carefully about what kind of path you want. First of all, are you somebody who's looking to move up the organization? Is your 5 or 10-year plan to be the vice president of one of these integrated teams? Is that something that you would like to accomplish? Or are you somebody who likes to have more of a horizontal path? Maybe you're in market research now, but maybe you want to be a product manager in the future or have some other title. So think about, are you looking for a vertical career or more horizontal paths? And then the other thing to think about is if you are staying specifically within research and insights related functions, do you want to be a specialist or do you want to be a generalist? Because as we look at the job postings, one of the things that becomes apparent very quickly is there are a lot of different skill requirements out there. And it's impossible to be able to know all of these skills. It's really a hard thing for one person to be excellent at business strategy and CX and quantitative research and qualitative research and social listening and research design and Python and Tableau, et cetera, et cetera. It's just too much for any one person to know. So do you want to be a specialist and have that, be that go-to person who has that, really high level of skill in a very specialized area, or do you want to be that generalist, that person who can be the data agnostic glue between different data functions? In that case, you probably will be better qualified for leading those cross-functional teams and cross-functional efforts that are so in demand these days. But it's a choice. Do you want to be a specialist or do you want to be a generalist? And in either case, given what we're seeing in terms of organizational, functional departments and the changes there and the current state of what kind of job postings we're seeing, you may need to add some new skills here and there in order to be ready for that new path. So I hope that conversation was helpful for folks. There's a lot of exciting things going on in our profession. I think now is a good time to take a pause and ask yourself, what do I really see for myself in the next 3 to 5 years? How do I want to see my career path evolving in this space? For those of you who are interested in training, we have several courses coming up. One is our very popular course that's a crash course on ethnographic research for customer insights. This is a great entry-level course. If you've always meant to get around to learning about ethnography and how it applies to market research, this is for you. If you're already an ethnographer, this class is not for you. It would be too easy. But if you're somebody who's always wanted to say, gosh, what can I do with it? What is it? What are some examples of how it really applies to market research and customer insights? This is a great class. It's just a single session class. It meets for 2 hours and it will show you, with the help of our wonderful instructor for this course, Frank Hines, how to use ethnography specifically for market research and customer insights. So if it's an area that you've been interested in, you really want to understand how you can use observational methods, this is a great option. If you have any questions, please post them here in the comments. And if you have if you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe. The more likes and subscribes we see, the longer I'll keep this series going. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.